Okay, so a quick video just running through government spending and the impact this has on aggregate demand. So government spending is to provide public and merit goods. Governments do not spend unless they're providing a public or a merit good. Government spending boosts income for lower earners and redistribution of wealth from the rich to the poor. And this mainly comes through our progressive tax system and the benefit system that we have. It provides a safety net for the ill and unemployed, and also helps to secure macroeconomic objectives. So these are key things that the government wants to happen, such as increasing output, reducing unemployment. So it might be something like the levelling up agenda that Boris Johnson has talked about, or promoting the North versus the South. State spending has grown enormously over the years and actually doubled between 1960 and 1990. Most of this has been demand induced because we, the population or the public, we, the electorate, demand increases in pensions, education, NHS funding. And these mean that we put pressure on the government to spend more. If the government doesn't spend more on these areas, it will impact them politically, and they know it will become very difficult for them at the next election. But this means that certain bodies, for example, drug companies, have significant amount of power over the government because they can try and force the government to pay for very expensive drugs, because the government knows that if it doesn't, the drug company will go to the press and they will receive negative press on the back of that. But as with so many things we've seen since COVID, this has helped to support UK exports. UK producing one of the first vaccines with AstraZeneca significantly supports UK because the pharmaceutical industry is a big support of the UK economy. And if we're selling more drugs abroad, this will help to support UK GDP. And with AstraZeneca and the vaccine, these increase in exports will support our economy. Government doesn't like means testing benefits because it's very expensive to do so, and it's very restricted in how it can increase productivity through what it spends. And there's always new areas for the government to spend money on, for example, the environment, Europe and job creation. We looked at some of this data in class. Some of the issues with state spending. Well, the big issue with state spending is how it's paid for. Is it going to be paid for through taxation? If it is, who's going to be taxed? Many argue that if you increase taxation for businesses, you'll just cut off investment. And if you increase taxation, large businesses will relocate elsewhere. If you're going to pay for government spending through debt, then this itself creates issues. The UK has significant amounts of debt and runs a significant budget deficit. The budget deficit is year-on-year difference between the money the government takes in through taxation and what the government spends. Deficits added up year-on-year create a debt. So the deficit happens within that financial year, and the deficit from year plus year plus year creates the debt. So these here are borrowing amounts. So, for example, in this year here, we borrowed £51 billion. And that will be added to the next year where we borrowed £43 billion. So this is a borrowing. These are the deficits, and they're added together to create the debt. Now, some of the main problems with government's borrowing to spend is it squeezes out private sector spending or creates crowding out. Crowding out occurs where the government because it's spent money, is it stops the private sector from spending money because the government's already done so. The example I always give in class is about a play area opened up by the government, which then stops private sector businesses open up play areas because the government's already done so at a subsidised cost. Okay, but also crowding out can create financial crowding out, whereby it's more expensive for private firms to invest because the government's already borrowed all the cheap money. Danger of creating state junkies, where people get addicted to getting handouts from the government and not providing their own income, and services might not be in line with what the population wants. So the example I normally give here is Trident nuclear missile. We all pay for it, even though many people actually fundamentally disagree with actually having a nuclear missile at all. Okay, and then we normally look at the debt that the UK economy is in.